Welcome to the Live Like an Acrobat podcast. I am your host, Shenea Stiletto. My guest on today's Live Like an Acrobat podcast is co-founder of cartografiacirco.com and coordinator for the International Market of Contemporary Circus at the MICC, Julia Sanchez. Welcome to the
Thank
podcast,
you. Thank you
Julia.
so much. I am super happy to be here today with you. It's like such an honor.
Thank you so much. The honor and the pleasure is all mine, Julia. And I would love to introduce your work. Circus Cartography
Yeah.
is an international cultural cooperation project dedicated to the dissemination and promotion of the circus for artists, companies, fairs and festivals, social circus, exhibition and creation spaces, associations, service and supplier companies, and international collaboration projects that have the circus as the main focus of action, a clear desire to interact internationally, and proven professionalism. This project emerged in 2020 at the initiative of Leandro, Mendoza, and Julia Sanchez, promoted by the International Contemporary Circus Market, or the MICC, in Montreal. To respond to the need to disseminate this circus internationally focused on the Latin American territory. Seeing the good response from the sector and the need to expand the territory of cartography among the three agents, it was decided that the cartography would cover the Ibero-American territory, and the Cíclicus would become the leader of the project. Wow.
Nice introduction. It's so nice. Yeah.
There was a lot there. There's a lot there. There's also some, I think, like new words there, obviously, for me. So part of my introduction, my pronunciation, but some really beautiful, I think, different ways of looking at this part of the world through language, which I'm finding in the introduction and by looking into all of your work. And Julia, I would love for you to explain first, what is it meant when you speak of first Ibero-American, because for me, even that's a very kind of like new phrase, even though I've heard it quite a bit. And then also to the cartography, and what does that mean as well?
Sure. As you were saying this introduction, I was thinking like, oh my God, like how can we summarize the work of 2 or 3 years in a paragraph? And then I
Mm.
realized it's not really the work of 2 or 3 years. It's like my whole career, because I used to be an acrobat before. I did
Mm-hmm.
cloud swing for a really, really long time, and I used to tour everywhere. And I had this, I don't know, this need of knowing what's going on everywhere, like who is who is where, what is going on in Latin America. Because as a Latin American artist at the time, I realized like we don't have any information of our neighbors, and we would love to tour in Brazil or I don't know, Argentina, Chile, but we just don't know what's going on. So I was at the MICC in 2018, and like, like life is magic, and sometimes it puts people next to you that will connect some other dots. So I met a guy called Victor Bobadilla from Chile, and we started just talking. And he was at the time studying his PhD in dramaturgy. So we started
Mm.
talking about, oh, so tell me a little bit more, what's going on in Chile, what's going on in Argentina, do you have some information? And we had like a super good relationship. And then the pandemic arrived. And during the pandemic, we
Mm.
said like, hey, remember like we met in Montreal, would you like to have just like a Zoom conversation of like friendly conversation of what's going on in Chile and in your like in like different countries? Yeah. So we started talking, and he invited someone and I invited someone, and then we realized like we have so much things in common. Like we have problems, we have needs, we have desires, we have creation ideas that we need to spread to the world. And then we started just meeting And that's how it came out, Hablemos de Circo. So I don't know if you are familiar to this project, but Hablemos de Circo, it's now a podcast, but before it used to be like Zoom meetings, and we invited someone to speak about their project. And this became huge because at the time we started, like, honestly, we started discovering what's in Latin America, the things we'd never imagined there were in Latin America, like researches, um, publications, companies, festivals, like everything was out there. And it was just like so rich that the MIC invited me to start talking about Latin America and what's going on in Latin America, and like giving a état des lieux. I really don't know how to say this, in maybe like an overview of the countries. And at the time they proposed me to lead one group, and with Leandro Mendoza we were invited to co-lead this group of, like, a working group of global circus, let's say. And with Leandro we said, like, it's super interesting, like all the work that I've been doing with Hablemos de Circo, and he is from Argentina and used to be the artistic director of Trapezi near to Barcelona, in Reus. And we said it could be interesting to do something that it's really like a tool for everyone and that can benefit like all the people we know in Latin America. What if we do a mapping? I was like, yeah, let's do a mapping. Why not? It's the pandemic. We don't have anything to do. Like, just like go for it. And we started mapping and having interviews with people. And it was very useful because we met like maybe one researcher, and this person was telling us like, okay, these are the venues, these are the artists, these are, like, naming all the people that we have to contact or to reach out. So we started reaching out people, and in Excel, like, put in this database. And then we just was like, this is crazy. This is becoming insane. We have more than 200 projects from all Latin America. We have to do something. So we talked to the MIC at the time, and we said, like, okay, so we started this project with you, and now we have like a huge database. What if we make a website? And that's how we built the website, with some funding from Spain and from the MIC, of course. And that's when we got the funding from Spain, we decided to make it IberoAmerica. So IberoAmerica, that was like the question. IberoAmerica, it's like all Latin America plus Spain and Portugal. So that's the Ibero-American region. So that's, we say it's Cartografía Iberoamericana de Circo. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That was a beautiful explanation. And no one can come away from that explanation not understanding and knowing exactly what that is now. If you are tuning in and you are unfamiliar with the territories, how they cooperate, how they collaborate, Spanish speaking and also to Portuguese speaking as well. I recently, we did with Circus Talk a spotlight on Santiago, Chile, and it was a fantastic opportunity to delve into the circus scene in Santiago and into Chile. And, you know, in doing more and more and more with Latin America, everyone reminds me, please do this city and do this spotlight and do this place. And, you know, and I've been, you know, speaking a lot with Chile in terms of their recent accomplishments in having circus arts recognized by UNESCO. And now they're, you know, working on helping Argentina and Brazil and all of their neighboring sister countries, wanting them to have the same expansions and wanting them to have the same thing. So, I mean, it seems that through this as well, this is another point of increasing that expansion or that awareness and connecting Latin American circuses and discovering one another, which I think is really, really beautiful and profound, and so much so many profound things came out of the pandemic and out of that time. And I'm so grateful that, people like you, Julia, got all of that inspiration to put in the work. Work that maybe people have always thought of, but I don't have the time, and how are we going to do this? There's so much out there. And then once you start to discover and you start to, do your research, you start to find all of the unique circus culture that's out there, and all of the unique circus culture that you can invite other people into as well from other parts of the world and I'm so glad that the MICC wanted to spotlight and give an entire sector into understanding and focusing on the market there too, because it's a burgeoning market. And that's what everyone is telling me. And obviously, I've worked in Latin America. I have so many friends that are from Latin America and work in and out of circuses over many, many years. So, I mean, if you know, you know. But from seeing a bigger spotlight and a more intimate spotlight, that is what I have heard many times of. We would like that, to feel seen, more, especially within the contemporary circus in Ibero-American, and in those territories as well. So how are you utilizing the platform now? And I mean, you have a combination of artists of all sorts of things on the site. What have you seen the change and the shift over these last few years from starting it in 2020 until 2024? Because I mean, even, my podcast, I started it also too in 2020. It's something I wanted to start for like over 10 years. I was always telling everybody about it, never did it. And then as soon as I had it, everyone's like, you look like you've been thinking about this for a long time. And
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I've had like 10 years to think about this, which I'm sure, again, from your experience and being an artist and all of those things, it informed your, all of your intellectual knowledge that you were going to put into this project and into, I don't like to call it a project, I like to call it a full system. It's a full network. At this
Mhm.
point, in my eyes, it's no longer a project. But how has it, you think, shifted the culture and shifted the connections within the territories?
Well, I think this project was like very inspirational. Is that an English word?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For for
And it is
other,
very inspirational.
yeah, yeah, for other countries, because in the beginning when we started talking about the project, everyone was like, "Oh my God, like I
Hmm.
thought about that before, but I'd never really do it because it takes a lot of time." So we start doing some sessions with Africa, with Asia, with the United States, because they
Mm.
wanted to do the same project. And then we said like, maybe, like, yeah, we can give a lot of advice of how we do it, but I don't think like we need to cooperate instead of just giving advice, because if we just have one platform where the whole world could like reach out, maybe we can just get linked, because that's the purpose of the circus cartography, like everybody gets connected at some point. Because I feel like in our territory, like speaking of America, we have like
Mhm.
Canada, United States, Mexico, and Latin America, and it would be so easy to tour if we really have a good thought about how to do it. Because it's like Europe, at the end, it's just like it would be cheaper to get like to get cargoes in between one city and another. They can just tour like all around South America, and maybe they would go to America, to the United States, and then Canada. That's like my dream, that at some point I would love to do something like that. And I think it
Mm.
just uh it this platform gives, like, as you said before, like the spotlight to the people. And now we just listen, like at some festivals, like, we used your platform, and we just like, oh, we're looking for a festival in Brazil. So they just tap, like they could do like a super well detailed research, and put, okay, Brazil festival, residency spaces, and then people are using it to go even backpacking, and just to know
Mm.
where they could go and meet other people, what kind of residence they could apply for, and just to connect with others. I think that's good. That has been like the most useful outcome that we had of the circus cartography. And also, just like people are from Europe and from United States, like now they know that there are a lot of circus things and projects going on in this territory.
It's huge. I think that's, we can't really like sell that short. That is really big because if people don't know about you and they don't know how to find you, I mean, you could have the most amazing project that no one will ever be able to support or be a part of, or people just think like, why doesn't anybody think like me? And actually they do. You
Yeah,
just didn't know where to find them. You
yeah,
couldn't connect with them because you didn't have the opportunity to go to that space or to travel to that space or to meet or connect with those people. Sometimes I think everyone can get caught in their small bubbles, and sometimes it's not intentional. Sometimes you're forced into being stuck in your own bubble. It's like not even your choice, right? We know that by way of, what kind of visa you have, what kind of passport you have, all of those things. So to me, it just like creates enormous opportunity, for the arts. And I think also too, even prior to the pandemic, everyone didn't realize how insulated the circus can be, where they think like, oh, information is just everywhere. You can just like find anything, and they don't realize if you've been around for a long time, you've really done your homework, because the way that you've had to discover people, find people, make connections, and keep those connections going, have people find you, is a lot of work. And I feel like with your platform, you've really taken away a lot of that stress, a lot of that extra work that kind of goes into it, or people just, again, not knowing. And then it's like readily available. And so it makes things so much easier. So then the stress of thinking that a project could come out of something like that goes down. People want to invest in something if they see that it's already a full package. They're like, oh, it's already put together. You're like, yeah, it's already here. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do the creative process, nothing. There's already these creative minds that are brilliant that are already here. They've just been waiting for new eyes. And I think also too, sometimes it's the new eyes that come into a space that really, help to project a project. Maybe that people that have just been around for a long time, they lose that kind of visibility. I think sometimes just because they get, maybe, I don't know, they've seen it. If you've seen it, and then you can't see the evolution of, or the potential of something anymore, because it's just maybe like right in your backyard, and you're looking for something elsewhere. And maybe the other people that are very interested in that project are not in your backyard, but they see the evolution and the potential of that particular project. And I mean, like how inspiring that is for anyone that could have the potential to be seen again, like I said, in that way. And not just be kind of like juggling their project on their own for so many years, wondering, when can I make this, a thing. I love also too how you've connected how much easier it would be to do things of that nature as well between the two continents, instead of, traveling overseas and creating that network. I'm sure that there's probably been a lot of different ideas that have been born from this platform in ways that you could probably do it better than maybe it's been done before. And like, again, for me, it's like the old ways that people are just used to doing something. They're used to only having access to this particular company or this particular space, and that's the only way that they do it. And then you serve up all of this newness that's there, and it's like, wow, there's a whole new way that we could do this, that's easier, that's more cost efficient.
yeah, yeah.
We could utilize more people could have a job this way. More people could be involved. We don't have to like cut people out. People can maybe last longer in their opportunities than previously. I mean, it makes me think of so many things like what you're speaking about. It just seems very, very important, and precious to the overall expansion, of what traditionally circus is thought of in certain parts of the world, I think.
Hmm. I wanted to mention as well that like our first desire was to, and it is still, to always have this tool available for free, because we are not
Mm,
agents. So we
wow.
didn't, because at the beginning we said like, okay, we're going to do this mapping, we're going to build this big database, and if you do your profile, if you create your profile on the Cartografía Circo, you could put there like your rider videos, Instagram, Facebook, even your website, and it will appear like all in one page, and you can share that page with any, like someone, and he could just have a look of the whole picture of who you are as an artist, as a company. And at one point, people were telling us, like, oh, I don't want to put my information there because I don't want you to be my agent. I was like, we are not charging. We're not going to be your agent. We're just putting this there. And you put your email and people will contact you directly.
Hmm.
Because we
Yeah.
feel that the circus cartography is a tool of cooperation. So we're doing something to cooperate towards mobility and circus development. And we don't want to charge people. And of course, we don't want to charge in Latin America, which where we knew the situation, it's not the same for everyone.
Hmm.
So we just want to build a
Yeah.
platform that everyone has like the same opportunities.
Where do you see the biggest demographic of your members coming from? Which country are using the platform the most? Who's using it the least and it's underused by them? Who needs to use it more?
Um, well, I think Mexico is using it the most, but it's also because I'm Mexican, and it's Spain is using it the most because also Leandro is from Spain, so we have been done like a very
Mm.
personal work towards those countries. Um,
Ah,
but it was
that
very
makes sense.
difficult to get people from El Salvador, from Guatemala,
Mm.
from all Central America. It was very difficult to map. So I think we have like one or two projects in total because also one of the things that we've been thinking about still is that we have some criteria to be approved to be in the circus cartography. And this criteria, it like the basic is that you have to have uh, I don't know how to say this in English. Oh, like you
It's
have
some minimums there.
it's just like you
Yeah, the
have
minimum requirements.
yeah, like the minimum requirement is like that you have to have like a legal status in your country.
Hmm.
It means that you have to pay taxes in order to participate. This is very important because if you want to tour abroad, you have to have
Hmm.
a way to be paid. So that's the main thing that we discovered, and that's the biggest issue we had because people in Latin America, they don't have companies that are like well established, or maybe like their tax system, it's very different, so they can't really charge, or they don't have international bank account. So it means you have to have a history, or uh, yeah, like you have to have the will of being international.
Mm. Okay.
So we're trying to see how can we switch this, and maybe we just have like one circus cartography where we map like established companies, and another one in another color with all the outdoors and street arts, because we have a lot of artists that
Oh.
are individuals and they like street arts that they can move in between the countries but maybe not abroad, like meaning Europe or United States and Canada.
That seems like it would be something that's very useful. In the meantime, while you're also too, I don't know, the facilitation of having the other ones be recognized, with the status that they need and what that would take. do you think? Do you think that that's something that in the future they would be able to eventually be able to do that within those countries, with respect to having that status, or do you see that something very far off? And that this is probably the only ready solution that will be able to support them for a very long time. What do you think?
I think it's coming. It's coming quickly because I think now, like people are realizing, like, oh, now that we have this spotlight, not because of the circus cartography only, but other projects, as you say, Circus Talk talking about Chile, or Circo Estrada doing Focus Chile, Mirabilia it's doing a Focus Chile. So now it's been more interest in Latin American countries than it was before. So now they are starting to realize like, oh, now we can do something, now people are looking, so now maybe it's time to be this constituted company, and we can move forward. What happened at the
Mm.
time that was very, very interesting was like in Guatemala, for example, there were 3 or 4 projects, and we talked to them and we said like, hey, we want you to be part of the circus cartography, but you don't have the criteria. What can we do in order uh, to have you in this mapping? So what they did like, okay, we're just gonna get all together and we're gonna make like an organization. And this organization is gonna be the one who will be in charge or leading like all these groups. So it was like
Oh.
it was a beautiful outcome, because they realized like maybe they're by themselves will be very expensive, or maybe it will be very complicated in legal way. But if they were all together, it was very easy to do, and they did it. So maybe it's something that we could at some point help artists to think about, that maybe they can do
Hmm.
their own associations and start being represented by one of them. That would be interesting, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be fantastic. I
Hmm.
love in finding the solutions to the problems instead. I think previously too, and this happens in a lot of spaces, everyone's like, it's just not going to work. Like, it's just not going to work. It's too complicated. There's not an easy way forward, and we cannot do it. I think now, especially because so many different minds are getting involved, like brilliant minds like you, Julia, who are like, no, we're determined to find a way through this and forward. And I really appreciate that, because I feel the same way within the circus industry and the circus environments, where I feel like, before people are much likely to just kind of like let something like alone, and then new eyes get on it and they're like, hey, okay, like how about we think outside the box? It doesn't always have to be through this particular avenue that we can, get the work, or that we can get the word out, or that we can find the solution, or that we can get there. And, I mean, the circus is obviously very creative and stuff too, but again, there's like pockets of circus where it's just held away from people, or there's just like not ways for them to get out of that situation that they're in. And I love that you are discovering new ways to inform that. I mean, we're doing that here in America, trying to find new ways in working with the government that have never been
Hmm.
done before. Like nobody just did them. Nobody went and had the meetings. Nobody had the extra conversations and said, well, hey, nobody's said those words to people in those positions of power before. So how would they know how to help us? How would they know how to change? Or they don't even know what we need really.
Of
It's
course.
beyond just getting money from the government, like we want, again, the visibility, we want the access, like again, like in spaces, where they want more like circus laws, or, like what you're saying too, more circus recognition as an actual business, so that you're seen as an actual industry. You're seen as an actual business that contributes to the economy, which we know that circus is contributing to all sorts of economies all over the world in a very big way. But how are they categorized? And all of that matters. All of those things matters in what you're able to do with your company and with your circus efforts. So we are coming to about the last like minute or so, Julia, of our conversation. This has just been so brilliant. Thank you. I think we were talking about this before. There's not even enough time to discuss every single aspect and avenue,
Yeah.
because this is such a rich conversation. But I'm glad that it's being had all over, and that everyone's doing their part. And I would like to, continue to do my part in speaking to, all of my circus friends in Ibero-American. So, what would you like to leave us with, the audience with, in terms of, in terms of the evolution of the platform and where you're headed and what you need support with? And yeah, how can we help you, and how can we find you?
Well, I think spreading the word is the best recommendation we can have. We are receiving projects now from France because they wanted to be part, so we have one, and we are evaluating if we can just include everyone. And we said like, why not? We can just like get everyone in this platform just to open the door, because that's the first signal of cooperation, I think. So just please spread the word of going to Circus Cartography, see what's there, like just like do a research and just discover, be curious about what's going on in Latin America and Ibero-America. And if you know someone that should be part of this Circus Cartography, just tell them to register. So that I think that for now, that would be like my first desire. The second one, it's like, of course, we need funding. We need funding because there's like a lot of work to do. And Leandro, it's in Spain. I'm in Montreal. So even if someone just wants to volunteer and help moving things in the database and making it better, like it's always welcome. Like all the of the expertise, it's welcome. Marketing or even just like posting stuff, we'll need that to reach more and more people. And I would like to invite you, of course, to come to the MICC, which is going to be from the 8th till the 11th. We're having this year a delegation from Brazil, one invite from Ecuador, which is the first time we have someone from Ecuador, a delegation from Mexico, and hopefully from Chile. So it's important just to make them be part of all these meetings. And we're going to have a Latin American or global circus meeting where they can just know each other. So please like attend the MICC. Registrations will be open on the 6th of March. And if you want to join me in any way, you can just have a look at my Instagram. It's ju.saga, or by my email, julia.sanchez.aga@gmail.com. And I think that's it. I'm super happy to be here. Thank you. I really appreciate, and I hope that you will come to the MIC as well in July.
Thank you so much, Julia. I'm like so grateful for the invitation. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming on to the Live Like an Acrobat podcast to speak to listeners and to help them to understand Circographia and the beauty that it's bringing, to the entire world, and helping all of us to discover the brilliant talents of Latin America. I'm so happy to hear that the delegations are coming this year to the MIC. Like, that seems pretty revolutionary and fantastic. And, for those listening, she's looking for an intern. Please find Julia. You'll be able to find her through the podcast. She's looking for an intern, and also too in different ways. If you are in this space where you are able to give some type of funding or granting, please look into Circographia so that to support them with those granting options. I'm sure that you will continue to have more and more support coming from all over, Julia, and I hope that some more support comes from this podcast. Listeners are fantastic. We're a big circus family and circus community, so I'm so grateful to learn and understand more about the platform and to share it. Everyone will be able to find the link to the platform in the show notes of this podcast. And also to the direct contact for Julia. So if you are interested, again, please discover. And also too, if you are from Latin America, find the platform and sign up and go on to Circus Cartography, cartografiacirco.com, and create your profile. Remember, it is free, and you are able to represent yourself by putting in your own information. So there is no agency fee. There's no one in between you and the person that wants to hire you or work with you in any capacity of your project. And it's for all sorts of projects. It's not just if you're an artist. So if you are multifaceted and you wear a lot of hats expats within the circus industry, this platform is for you as well. And please get others engaged and spread the word, and let them know that there is a brilliant new platform. If you have friends that are looking for more visibility in a way that they don't see it out there right now, it actually does exist through
Yeah.
Julia's platform. So it is here through Julia and through Leandro. And also, too, please make sure to check out the latest Circus Cities episode spotlighting Santiago, Chile. I will also say that everyone that participated in the series really wanted me to next spotlight Buenos Aires in Argentina. And so that may be the next future circus city. But if you have some recommendations for those that you would like for me to interview in Argentina, please let me know. Again, I will say that was just a very big part of the conversation during the last Circus Cities episode in Santiago. And the Live Like an Acrobat podcast is also available on Circus Talk, the inclusive, independent, and international online network for the circus industry. Circus Talk's mission is to create a level playing field for this industry and democratize access to information. Until next time, everyone, please stay safe and stay healthy. I'm your host, Shenea Stiletto.